Now, as I discussed in my digest, Liz Truss has broken her silence for the first time since leaving Number 10 as she hit out at the left-wing establishment coup that toppled her. But she's not the only undemocratically ousted PM encircling Rishi Sunak after Boris bounced back into the spotlight, with rumours growing of an extraordinary political comeback. So, with Rishi under pressure, Truss setting the record straight and Boris captivating the country again, who should be the leader of the Conservative Party? We've got a huge poll running on this. Your last chance to vote at GBNews now on Twitter. And joining me to fight the corner of the respective candidates, we have the former Brexit Party MEP, Ben Habib. He is supporting Truss, backer of the current Prime Minister, Edwina Currie, and of course, Lord Greenhalgh, who has spoken of how Boris is the only person to save the country. And Lord Greenhalgh, there's a lot of folk now saying Boris needs to come back. You know, look at the poll ratings. There's only one man who can turn this around for the Conservative Party.
Well, I'm not. I've been on the record about why I think Boris should come back, and the exam question we've got at the moment is that we're tanking in the polls. I mean, I've seen polls that we'll only get 100 seats, and back in 1997 when we were decimated, I'm sure Edwina remembers it well. We were down to 195 seats. So we're looking at really some terrible polling at the moment. Now, that may change, obviously, but they may not, and we'll get some indication in the May local elections. But the reasons, I'm not going to speak ill of the other two, the reasons why I believe in Boris is that he's a proven election winner. This chap won the mayoralty in London, typically a Labour city, in 2012 when we were well down in the polls. He found a way just to beat Ken Livingstone. He, in 2019, secured a whopping 80-seat majority. He is a proven election winner. When I interview people for my business, I want to know if they have done something, they can do something, and therefore that they will do something. We know Boris is a winner when it comes to elections. The second thing is, I work for him in City Hall. I believe he has the soul of a leader. And that's what we need. We need the soul of a leader rather than the mind of a manager. Boris, when I was working for him as Deputy Mayor for Policing, set out what he wanted. I want you to cut crime. I want to see confidence rebuilt after the riots, and please, no more riots. And then he just let me get on with it. And by the way, he said, I hope you're good at budgets, because he knew that we had to find 100 million cash savings, 100 million cash savings each year. And he just let me get on with it and gave me the cover to take some difficult decisions. He's a remarkably great leader. But the third reason is he's got fantastic political instincts. Those political instincts, his leadership and his proven electoral winning capabilities, he's the man for the job at this point in time, in my view.
What a pitch for Boris. Love that. Edwina Currie, come on. You care about your party. You know the dangers of a Starmer, Sturgeon, Green coalition from hell, as I've described it. You cannot, in good conscience, Edwina, sit here and say you want Rishi Sunak to take your party to the next election. He's going to be thrashed, Edwina.
Do you know what, Dan? I was listening to you earlier and thinking, I'm very glad to be part of the dark forces you're talking about, the dark forces of common sense. And I was a member of the Conservative Party and an activist before you were born. Indeed, when Liz Truss's parents, left-wing parents, were small children themselves. So let me say this. What we are doing here is debating who should run a tiddlywinks competition, who should lead the conga at a wedding celebration, where in fact what we're trying to do is run the country. And we have a prime minister, and we've had too many changes already. The country is absolutely sick of all of that. Rishi is excellent, and I think you'll find many of your worries about taxation and policies for growth will be sorted out when we get to the March budget. March the 15th is the date of the budget. My sources, which I am not going to reveal, are telling me that we will hear extremely good news at that point. We have to get the economy back onto an even keel first, and then we are in a position to do what I think we all want, which is to get some growth and to get some hope and to get some optimism, and hopefully look forward to some reductions in taxes at a future point. I'm happy with that. You know, the Tory party has always been the party of sound money. Sound money. Margaret Thatcher used to go on about it all the time. Sound money. And we really couldn't cope with Liz Truss going in exactly the opposite direction.
Well, I hope your sources are right on that, because I think if they go through another budget, keeping our tax burden at the highest it's been since World War II. They're going to be finished at the local elections. Now, Ben Habib, look, Edwina said some pretty tough things on Liz Truss. I believe what she wrote in the Sunday Telegraph yesterday and what she's expressed in her lengthy interview with The Spectator tonight was very clear. And it's disturbing, Ben Habib, that she was brought down by this left-wing economic establishment.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's very clear. There's no way that Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak can be trusted with the nation's finances. Remember, they were the duo that printed 500 billion in order to lock us up, broke the supply chains, allowed oil prices to be out of control when we unlocked, created the inflationary spiral we've now had to face, sat on the public sector, taxed us to hell, borrowed to hell, and effectively broke the economy. So it's extraordinary to me that we should entrust Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, who borrowed more money than any Chancellor in history, with the keys to the country. The fact is the Tory party is no longer Tory. I think the debate here is who should lead the Conservative Party. Well, there's only one Conservative amongst these three, and that is Liz Truss. She's the only one who wishes to put power back in the hands of the people. What could be more clear about giving people the right to spend their own money than reducing taxes? Under the previous administration, they've increased taxes to the highest point since World War II, the highest debt levels since World War II, inflation at a 40-year high. Those policies had to be binned. And just coming back to the blob, we're in a perpetual, by the way, democracy is perpetually being challenged by the state.
It is, and that is so disturbing, and I spoke about that in the digest.
It lives in a very uncomfortable place, and Liz Truss was pushing against.
Couldn't agree more with you. And look at what happened. She was gone within 49 days. But look, I just want to get Lord Greenhalgh to respond specifically to those points you made about Boris. Lord Greenhalgh, would you say Boris was in an unenviable position because he was dealing with this pandemic and these lockdowns, which, by the way, I don't think we ever should have had, but he did get us out of them quicker than most countries in the Western world, at least, because he has spoken now, hasn't he, of the need to lower taxes?
Well, I'm a bit emotionally conflicted about COVID. I was made a minister by Boris in March 2020, and within weeks my mother died in the first wave. And Boris, communicated to me his great sorrow that she died, and then went into intensive care himself, if you remember, in early April. It was a really tough time. But I have to say, what I really appreciate is I'm just celebrating my father's birthday, his 82nd birthday today. My mother didn't make it, beyond 2020, but my dad's still alive because the vaccination program kicked in faster than any country, I think, except Israel. But any major Western European country, we were so much faster getting those vaccines out, and that made a huge difference. So I feel Boris got that end of the pandemic absolutely right and opened up. He also got the call to open up quicker than many instinctively would have done. So, for me, with Boris, the glass is half full, and there's a lot to commend him on. Obviously, there are things that, we're dealing with something that was unprecedented. But, I think he got some big calls right. The call to support Ukraine with lethal aid is a big call. It made a huge difference. I think those are some real high points that we should focus on. Okay. And, I noticed that Edwina Currie, a substantial politician, did not attack Boris. She chose to talk about Liz Truss.
She used to have a life-size Boris behind her in her house. Where's Boris gone, Edwina?
The life-size Boris is now hiding behind the freezer. You're absolutely right. Boris has many, many good qualities. Boris could have tried again if he'd wanted to. I understand that he had enough.
He would have won.
He had more than 100.
He would have won. He would have won, but then the Tory party would have come after him. Now, look, OK, brilliant. You've all put your cases. I love it. Edwina Currie, former Tory minister, Lord Greenhalgh, of course, a big Boris backer, and Ben Habib supporting Liz Truss. So who do you think should lead the Conservative Party? Who do you agree with? Annie on email says, as a Conservative Party member, I voted for low tax Liz Truss, not Sunak and high tax Hunt.